Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Super League Pom-Cast. I am your host, Johnny Lou. You can find us on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, and also you can find me back on Twitter, John Lou13. This week reinstated. We are back, baby, and joining me today is co-host of Only in Rugby League. He is the bald maverick himself. It is, of course, Andy Lee. How are we, Andy?
Hi, Johnny. How was your time in Twitter prison?
Oh, mate, 7 months and 3 days. Thank you, Derek. I finally got Elon back on side, and the men and women of X. By the men and women, I of course mean the AI appeals team that is absolutely shambolic, but it got there in the end.
Hold on.
I'm back.
Congratulations to Nigel Wood, who was obviously behind the campaign to get you back on.
Yeah. He obviously he's missing the words of encouragement from myself. But yeah, I'm just in time for Derby week next week, so
Brilliant.
It's perfect. But Andy, you've had a bit of an eventful weekend, haven't you? You've been to Belgium. You've been to the south of France. And you've seen a lot of airport. Do you want to tell the team of the listeners of your interesting voyage to Toulouse at the weekend?
Well, we went to Toulouse and we went via Brussels, right? And the only thing I can say to you is that if everyone's planning a route to go to Toulouse, find another alternative rather via Brussels Airport, right? It's an absolute shambles. So there was delays in Manchester going to Brussels for about half an hour. Anyway, they delayed the connecting flight in Brussels, but the passport control was that long in Brussels that we ended up missing the connecting flight.
Cheers, Brexit.
So there was 10 of us that missed the flight, the connecting flight to Brussels, including Jack Smith, Tom Grant, and the touch judges. There was me and Bobby from Only in Rugby League. There was another two Saints fans. There was a French couple, and then there was the four officials, who then said, and so then they said this was 9:15 in the morning. We'll get you on the next flight, but it's not until 9:15 tonight.
So 13 hours in Brussels airport, effectively.
So then we had to wait for them to get us another ticket and etc.
Could you?
No, because we didn't have
a ticket.
So we couldn't go out of the airport. So by the time we got that sorted, it was about 4:00. There was no point in going out.
Because Brussels airport's about an hour from the city anyway.
Exactly. So there was no point in trying to go anywhere. So it was an absolute nightmare. What really annoyed me was the fact there was 3 of us in the party, and one of us got through.
Did he get to Toulouse?
Who I'm sure could have said, "Oh, they're literally 45 seconds behind us."
Did he really? Did he not tell them? Like he just got on.
He got on the plane.
No, he didn't.
He said, "I tried to stop it, but they manhandled me onto the plane."
Oh yeah, come on. Just pretend to tie your shoelaces or something.
Exactly. Anyway. Oh, we said that to him, and he went, "I've got slip-ons on." Anyway. In the end, so we get to Toulouse about midnight on Thursday/Friday. We had the day in Toulouse.
He's got Skechers slip-ons.
Yeah. So we had we had a day in Toulouse. We went to the game and then flew back at 5:00 on Saturday morning. So we literally
a flying visit.
Pretty much 24 hours in Toulouse. But I will tell you, and I think you've been, haven't you? Have you been to Toulouse?
Yeah. I went with my dad in 2022.
What a beautiful place.
Amazing, isn't it?
If anybody's listening, they ever get the chance to go to an away game or just to go to a game of rugby league, Toulouse, brilliant, lovely place. It's proper what I'd call medieval.
Yeah.
Really, a lot of beautiful cathedrals and buildings and all sorts of stuff. There's a lot of museums. Oh, it's fantastic. So I wish I'd have had longer there. But and then I was really, really impressed with the setup at Toulouse. There
It's
was a
boss, isn't it?
decent crowd, but what I was impressed with was you get into the ground. There's
Badiga bar.
a nice bar. Yeah, but what they also do, they make an effort. They give free flags away every game to all the
Yeah.
fans. Any players that are not playing are there signing the flags and signing things. They're giving little rugby balls away.
Beautiful what they're doing to the community.
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic the way that they've tried to engage. That there's a lot of clubs could learn off that. I don't care whether you're in a heartland or not. What they try and do is look after their fans,
And they
and there's a lot
encourage
of clubs that can take heart from that.
And then post game, they encourage the away team to go into the bar and see their fans, and then they encourage the home players as well. I believe Tyler Dupree was in there after the game, and people like that, which is good. And it was so good that Iggy Parsley missed the team bus going back to the hotel. He was chatting to the fans that much, I believe, from what I've been told, which didn't make it into Ironian Rugby League this week.
I forgot that. I will mention that next week, though. I'll give you a credit for that and mention that next week. But we didn't. I didn't know that because we were trying to get an Uber back to Toulouse because I wanted to see the city lit up at night because I'd missed it the night before, and it was the last chance we had. So I didn't bother staying after the game.
And you'd have only had about 4 hours sleep that night as well, wouldn't you?
Exactly that. Yeah. Oh, what was even worse in the room, there was a bunk bed, which the other lad got, and there was a double bed, which then I had to share with Bobby.
Wait, why didn't Bobby get on the bunk bed?
Because I wasn't sharing with the other lad. He's twice the size of Bobby.
No, well, yeah, but you could have sent Bobby on a bunk bed.
I tried to get him on.
And you had the full bed.
There would have been, there was one single bunk bed and a double bed underneath it.
Oh,
for 3 of us.
Sorry.
I tried to get him to sleep on the floor, but he wouldn't have it.
Sounds like it's a good job you did miss that flight because... what a trip.
In short, I would go again because it was brilliant, but not via Brussels.
And in a different hotel rather than a hostel.
Yeah. And then I spoke to somebody who said, "Oh, we've come via Milan. Oh, we had a day in Milan, then
went to Lake Como.
Yeah, went to Milan, went to Toulouse,
Switzerland.
We're on the train back to Carcassonne and flying direct back from Carcassonne. I was like, that's the way to do it.
We did Carcassonne to Manchester and then get the train. That's what we did.
That's the way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I've learned that for next time round, but honestly...
I'm assuming Bobby booked the accommodation.
Yeah, absolutely. And the trip and everything, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you know?
Oh, what a start to the podcast. A great opening 9 minutes right there of Andy's tremendous Toulouse getaway. By the way, how good is that Bistro 13?
Oh,
was it good?
Excellent. You've seen the pictures from outside, yeah,
I've
brilliant.
Seen the pictures. I've seen you and Bobby there with a couple other Saints fans there, and it's a good initiative they've got going as well with like the free ticket and coach if you buy a meal there.
Yeah,
they've got a deal with the Toulouse team, and it was the birthplace of rugby league there or something, wasn't it?
That's right. There's a plaque outside the bistro that says this is where I think it was 1937. I think. Where was the birthplace of Toulouse, and again when it was reformed again after that they did it the same place. So yeah. So there's a bit of history there as well, which is nice.
That's good because that wasn't open, I don't think, when we last went. So that's good. That's good for fans to go to if you're ever there in Toulouse.
Oh, it was packed out. So it was it was really popular. It was the place to be. Yeah.
That's good. And well, let's move on to our criteria because the fans are probably wondering what we're talking about. And of course, there's only one place to start. And it is after the sacking of Luke Robinson of the Huddersfield Giants. We spoke pre-season with our ladder build-up a lot about Huddersfield and what we thought about how their season would go. And we were all three of us, me, you and Bri, were pretty adamant that they'd do terribly. I predicted them as wooden spooners. I put a bet on them as wooden spooners. I think that one's coming in. And Luke Robinson is just... He's the fall guy for this terrible, terrible regime at the minute at the Huddersfield Giants.
They've got a director of change.
Yeah, I've seen
Um,
that, and what a man to really drive change than the man that drove the change of the RFL in an even bigger downward spiral in Mr. Ralph Rimmer. He should have stayed at the Union.
we as a sport, we recycle these failures, don't we?
Oh, they love it. Reduce, reuse, recycle. They may as well just have that.
Yeah, but in the meantime,
Plastered
we pay.
over the RFL.
In the meantime, we pay them all off in between, and then appoint them again in some sort of
Yeah,
capacity. It's
it's meant to give
incredible.
them six-figure sums, and then off you go.
It's what I noticed though. The reason I brought Ralph Rimmer up on the director of change stuff was I saw a video after the sacking. He was outside the. I don't know whether you've seen it or not. He was
I've
outside
seen it,
the new training
ground.
facilities, which is great, by the way. If they get if that comes off, real step in the right direction, attracting players. You know, if they can have those sort of facilities, that all helps in their recruitment, I would think. He was talking then about by 2030, this team will do X, Y, and Z. We've got a vision. We've got an identity. Well, why have they not got that now?
And why can't they say what that is?
Yeah, why is he saying after the coach has been sacked? Right, we've now got a vision. Well, what was Luke Robinson working with him then? The more I hear, the more I feel for Luke Robinson, to be honest.
But what was that vision? Because he didn't actually say what the goals were publicly. He just said we know what we want to be in 2030. What is that goal? Winning Super League?
Still in Super League?
Is it, competing to get back into Super League? What is that goal?
I mean, you look at your interview with Clint from York, and he's saying by 2030 we want to have won
Silverware.
Challenge Cup. We want to have won silverware. That's his vision. By 2035, he wants to be competing to win Super League. So he just says now we've got a vision for 2030. Well,
that's 4 years away. 3 seasons.
I was just going to say it sounds a long way off, but it's not, is it?
It's 3 seasons because this one's wrote off already.
Yeah.
So you're building for next season, 2027, 2028, 2029, and then it's 2030.
And then it's
so you've got 3 seasons to build it for that 4th season.
Yeah. So what changes by 2030? Because if I was him, I'd be saying our new training facilities, our new, and he mentioned the words world class.
The new ground.
So he said our new world class training facilities. You would say they'll be in operation.
Plans for a ground.
Plans for a ground, or certainly to be out of that ground by 2030 in some shape. Even if it's a temporary accommodation at Dewsbury or Halifax or wherever. But you would say, right, by 2030, we won't be playing in this stadium. The world-class training facilities are finished. Our recruitment is going to take a step up, etc., etc. We will be confident we'll be in the playoffs. That's the sort of vision that Huddersfield fans want to hear, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But
I feel for Luke Robinson. Is he the best coach in the world? I don't particularly think so. I think he's done well as an assistant. I think with any assistant, if you get offered the main job, you're going to take it, especially for because he is a club legend. So it's very, very difficult for him to say no, because in his own mind, and he's got his own abilities, faith in his own abilities, he's going to say, right, I'm going to make a success of this post. And then then you're working with what constraints you've got in terms of finance, in terms of recruitment, in terms of facilities, and that all adds into what you can actually do, doesn't it?
Massively. But like it gets me when you talk about Luke Robinson, right? And Ralph Rimmer talks about where they want to be in 2030, right? What culture do they have at Huddersfield Giants? Because we talked about this on the last episode, the culture and what they bring. Those at the top, right, in the last 4 seasons have seen 2 major club legends leave in Jermaine McGilvery, the biggest Huddersfield Giants legend that there was, having no send-off, having no notice, being promised a new deal that never arrived for a final season, and then a hastily arranged, say goodbye to Jermaine, and he's clapping to 50 fans on his way out, being treated horribly by the club, right? Given no real big send-off. And now Luke Robinson, who's spent 16 years of his life dedicated to the club, if not more, and he gets a one-sentence statement and then all this bollocks on this video by Ralph Rimmer. Is that another way to treat another club legend? No, it's not. Like,
No.
we seen it with Saints pre-season, with the whole John Wilkin thing, and next thing that there's changes at the top. When are Huddersfield going to wake up and go, right, the CEO is clearly not doing his job. He's been there 20 years. And his idea to get more fans in is just reduce season ticket prices. They've got the cheapest season tickets in the whole league, and they've got the lowest attendance in the league now. So that isn't working. If that's your strategy for 20 years and it's not working, and that's your only strategy, what the hell are you doing? Get rid of him.
Realistically,
change as a club.
Well, realistically, they're only going to work. They're only going to wake up to this when they're in the Championship, aren't they? At the minute, the way it's going,
and they won't get back up because it'll be very hard now for a club with the current strategy, and especially the talks of the NRL takeover. Be very hard for a club out of whoever are in the 14 at the end of this season. If the NRL take over, it'll be very, very, very tough for them to come back up.
And
whoever's in them Championship,
particularly with London knocking on the door, and if the NRL take charge, then you would think that
London are in.
Yeah, exactly that. So
London are in regardless of the NRL.
Somebody has to make way for London, because we're not going to go to 15 and 16 teams. Not at the minute. Not for the next few years.
And even if we did go to 15 and 16 teams, I don't think Huddersfield make it.
No.
I'd say Widnes would be ahead of them at the minute.
Yeah.
With the way that club's building and rumoured takeovers and things like that. They get a good backer in them and money coming through their door.
Then absolutely.
They are 100% a better outfit than Huddersfield, 100%.
Yeah. It was interesting because I spoke to Bry about this a couple of weeks ago on our pod, and I asked Bry, I said to him, you live near Huddersfield. Bry lives about 3 or 4 miles outside of Huddersfield. And I said to him, when you go to Huddersfield, because you go quite often shopping, etc., like, how many Huddersfield Giant shirts do you see walking around the town? And it's also a university town as well. So I've said, you live near that. How many? He said, I go to Rugby League Cares, who are based at the university. He went, and all the time, he said, I don't see one Giant shirt walking around Huddersfield.
You might see maroon and claret and gold, but it'll be, what's it called? It'll be Bradford City, it won't be Huddersfield.
Yeah. And let's be honest. I mean, you could argue, I suppose, to say, well, it's a football town, etc., all that sort of stuff. And the football team have had spells in the Premier League. As a rule, they are lower Championship stroke top of League One, aren't they? As a football team, they're not exactly dwarfing the Rugby League team, if that makes sense, in terms of the image that they have in the town, because they're not a successful football team.
No.
So it's not like the case of like
Salford and Man United.
Exactly that. And there's a few that live. It's like, Hull is a rugby town, isn't it? Hull City exists alongside the two Hull clubs. Leeds Rhinos hold their own in terms of support and
have Leeds United.
Than Leeds United, which is a great. Bradford Bulls probably the same. But so I don't understand, if Bradford can do it, for example, then why can't Huddersfield?
And it's that terms of strategy and marketing and going out into the community and really driving that in, because it starts at primary school. There was the clip of James Graham when when obviously and he talks about how he got into rugby league, and he went round, did the rounds again on social media this week, and it's like his dad and his granddad used to go to Wembley every year no matter what. So Saints used to put coaches on, they went down, and my dad, and he said James Graham's dad seen a thing, a poster saying St. Helens Crusaders now taking on for under eights, and then he took the flyer and went to James and went, do you want to go down? He went down on a Wednesday, and it was a match. Never knew the rules, never knew anything. He went, the physicality, I fell in love with it. And that's how you get them. You get them at a very young age. You take them to games, free initiatives for schools and stuff like that. That's how you grow the fan base.
Build the community. But you know what, though? In that area around there, it is stacked with amateur rugby league, junior rugby league. It is absolutely stacked. If you think about their catchment area in terms of the Super League club in that area, you've got all the heavy woolen district. Dewsbury, Batley. You've got Halifax on your doorstep. The amount of top amateur teams like Elland, Siddall, things like that are in that area. Dewsbury Celtic, Thornhill Trojans, those sort of things, those sort of clubs. And there are countless junior clubs at that. So the base is there. You're not talking. I mean, I live in Blackpool now, and that is not a rugby league area. There's a couple of teams.
It is though, as well at the same time.
It is, but not compared to Huddersfield.
No. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, it's not a traditional heartland. Yeah, there's pockets of rugby league, there's pockets of junior clubs, there's pockets of senior clubs. The big one's Blackpool Scorpions, as you know, that sort of thing. But they're isolated. So whereas the teams in Huddersfield are not. So when you look at the ability that they have to capture the community and their catchment area of fans, players, academy stuff alike, it's huge. It's huge. I don't understand how they make quite such a mess of it, really, when they've got all this on their doorstep. It's harder to make a mess of it than it is to make a success of it.
Especially when you've had a CEO that's been there for 20 years and they've gone from having crowds. Back in the day, they probably got like 7,000 or 8,000.
Yeah.
Back in the day. To now barely scraping hundreds of actual home fans there, and the rest are away fans. Like it's now getting to the point where it's becoming pathetic, and I really feel sorry for Ken Davey, but because he's just pumping money into a wasted franchise at the moment.
But he won't be there forever either.
No, exactly.
So, he won't another with respect to Ken, probably another 10 years, he won't be pumping his money into it. So what then? So when you talk about,
and it's down to his sons, and what they decide,
and if they decide, actually, look, this was my dad's hobby, this was my dad's love, it's not ours.
Yeah.
What then?
I mean, we do know there is a fund that he has put aside for after his death that goes to the Huddersfield Giants to keep them going for a good 10 years post-death. So, but it's still not a thing it's still not something that you want, as a club, to be in this uncertain times. And then, you mentioned on Only in Rugby League and the podcast, where you're like, well, who do you get to replace him? Who do you get to replace Luke Robinson? Because at the end of the day, he was handed a poison chalice. He was an amateur coach, given the squad they had at the time and the underachievement, the achievement it's been able to have is minimal because of injuries, but also because of the ability of the actual signings and the recruitment. That Tane Milne, mate, he's one of the worst players I think I've ever seen play Super League.
I'm not sure Wayne Bennett would have been able to do much with that squad.
No, honest to God. And then you're giving it an amateur coach. And now he's coming out and saying, well, we've finally got the vision and that. Well, where was that when you were recruiting these sorts of players?
Exactly that.
The shit guy and,
exactly that.
The...
But you mentioned about a replacement. If you were an out of work, if you were a sort of top out of work coach, would you be putting your hand up for this job?
No.
At this time?
And if you're an up-and-coming coach, are you going to take the Huddersfield job? No.
No. You know, I mean...
So what you want is someone who's done it, done everything, and is coming to the end of his career.
Because you've got nothing to lose. You've got nothing
Because
to
you've got
sour your
nothing to lose,
reputation.
and you've already built your game and reputation up. Someone like Tony Smith, who's now moving to Bali, moved to Bali, so it's not likely going to be him. But like, you need someone like that, or someone like Craig Lingard, who can get a job in the Championship no matter what, and can take the punt, and if it doesn't work out, then he can just go back to the Championship and pick up a club easily.
Yeah,
you need someone like that.
It's all pointing towards John Keir.
Oh, Brian Noble.
It is all, but you're right on that thread. Because
mate, if John Keir's back in Super League, this will be
that'd
incredible.
be amazing. That would be amazing, wouldn't it, John Keir? But
get him off commentary at least.
You're right on that thread, because let's give an example of Danny Maguire.
Right, well, Danny Maguire was given a poison chalice at Castleford.
Okay.
You look what Ryan Carr's doing now. So if he takes this job, that's his career over.
Exactly that. Because
and he's been given 2 poison chalices.
And what they'll say is Danny Maguire, well, he's had 2 Super League clubs. He hasn't succeeded as any. We're not going to touch him.
Exactly.
So why would Danny Maguire, for example, put his hand up for this, or someone like that, which he just wouldn't do it? It'd be too risky. Danny Maguire would be better off somewhere like London, for example.
Yeah. Well, or working as a number 2.
Somewhere like that, where they've got a vision going forward, where you can say, well, actually, I can take this team on the up. Whereas,
look, the perfect example for this is Joseph Applegarth.
Yeah.
He was shit at Wakefield because the squad was awful. The salary cap was being nowhere near spent. They were transitioning to a change of ownership, and he got the sack at the end of the year because they were the worst team in Super League. He goes to York because Clint's gone, well, actually, he's got a good reputation at Wakefield as a good coach, really good at the youth development and spotting good recruitment. Right, we'll give him a chance, give him time, let him build something, and look at what he's doing in Super League now.
And you're right, and I think
he's the perfect example of you give someone the right tools, they can do something. You give them an old rusty bucket, they're not going to be able to do anything.
No, exactly that. It'll be really interesting to see who they do get in, whether it's an interim for till the end of the season, whether it's a permanent appointment. But it'd be really interesting to see what direction they go in.
But it's got to either be someone that's gone and done the hard yards in the Championship, who can get a job no matter what if it doesn't work out back in the Championship. Someone who's got nothing to lose there, or an old dog that's done it all and just is happy to have a bit of a retirement go. So bring on John Keir.
Ian Watson.
Is what's his name doing anything over here? Richard Agar. He's still assistant, I think, isn't he, at the Wasps?
Yeah, Richard Agar. Get the old band back together. Richard Agar and James Webster. Yeah, get the old band back.
Get all the all FC former bosses in.
They're the ones. Yeah.
But anyway, I think we've had enough of Huddersfield and the depression on there. So why don't we go to a former Giant now? We all had high hopes for the Leeds Rhinos at the start of the year. At least top 4. I think I predicted them 5th. To be fair, I can't remember my exact prediction, but we all had them in and about the playoffs, and you had them Challenge Cup winners as well, I believe.
Yeah, that's gone. That's gone by the wayside, hasn't it? Yeah.
So, the Leeds Rhinos are out of the cup. They've lost 2 on the bounce. They've lost to Hull, who have been dreadful at times this year with a lot of injuries as well. And they gave away 4 penalties for dissent in the last game.
Yeah.
Is this a sign of the players that are leaving and going to the NRL, to the Perth Bears? There's 4 of them, right? So those players that are all going at the end of the year, Is this a case of now the other players are just like, oh, whatever, I don't really care now? Or is it an attitude thing because of that? Or is it just this club's culture and the attitude recently? Because the likes of Harry Newman gives away the sent penalty every week.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
He's in the bin
Yeah.
10 minutes most of the time.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. There was a really telling interview, wasn't there, with Brad Arthur this week after the game. He said, we have to put our egos down and get back to some hard work. Now, whether that's egos in winning a few games, whether that's the egos of winning at Vegas, whether that's the egos of the players that you just mentioned that, well, hey, I've made it next year in the NRL anyway. And it could be a combination of those things, but he's quite right. But it's a difficult job now for the coach to get them to drop those egos, so to speak.
Hugely.
On the Challenge Cup that you said, I mean, I didn't realise that they hadn't until after the game that the defeat at Wakefield that they hadn't made the quarterfinals of the Challenge Cup since 2020
Since they won it.
and not beating a Super League side in that time either.
Pathetic.
I mean, for a club the size of Leeds, that's an horrendous record, isn't it?
Who should be wanting to challenge for trophies all the time.
They should be up there, shouldn't they? I mean, you know, but I think I've said it before that for this Leeds team, it's a last hurrah because this team breaks up, this team disintegrates at the end of this season.
There's at least 4 or 5 players leaving already that we know of.
Already, and that's without the normal. We're not renewing his contract.
Ryan Hall potentially retiring. Callum Watkins maybe retiring, coming towards the end of their careers. Like, you've got a lot of factors here at play. This is the chance for them to go, yeah, let's send these legends out. Let's give these players a farewell that are going to the NRL.
Yeah. Plus,
it's mental.
Plus, there's always debate over any overseas players that are at the end of the contract. Do they renew or do they go home? So, again, you've always got that influx of players as well and outgoings in there. So, they seem at the minute to be a little bit... They're not very unified, are they? They're a little bit disjointed at the minute, aren't they?
They don't seem to have a leader out there. And that's what I think. I don't think they've got a captain and a leader, that's someone that can take them and tell them to pack it in.
Well,
is the captain at the minute Aledsky?
Yeah. I mean, I always look at Croft to be that man, but maybe he isn't.
Ash Hanley is the sole captain of Leeds Rhinos. So it's always hard when you've got a centre/winger as a captain. Always hard.
Yeah, because they're out on the edges, yeah. I think, as well, I said as well at the start of the season that there was a lot on Jake Connor as well to hit the heights of last year.
Yeah.
As man of steel. And it's really, really difficult to back that up when you've had a real purple period. This is not just for Jake Connor, but for any player. When you've hit the heights of what you did last year, it's really difficult to keep continuously hitting them heights. That's where the good players become great players.
Hugely.
And you say, is Jake Connor a great player? That's the question that you're asking, really, to see whether he can do it again. And so far, it's fits and starts from at the minute. Played brilliantly in Vegas, but I don't think he's done much since he come back from there. So when does the Vegas victory, when does the Vegas trip become more than a hangover?
Well, this was the question you answered in the pod. You asked in the pod, and you said, when does a hangover stop being a hangover?
Yeah, that was for Hull KR, but it's the same for Leeds at the minute.
But it's the same for Leeds because they had such a high after that Vegas. They've just smashed the 4 trophy winning Hull KR on the big stage in front of the NRL in packed out Allegiant Stadium. That is a huge adrenaline rush and a huge euphoria. And sometimes when you're on them big cloud nines, when you do come crashing down and have them come downs, they're the worst of the lot. So this could carry on for a good couple of weeks yet.
They've got a really tough game this week. They play Warrington this week.
Yeah.
Which might tell us a little bit
High-flying
about...
Warrington.
Well, exactly, and it might tell us a little bit about where both teams are, because Warrington have been scoring points for fun.
Yeah.
Their attack has been the best in the league,
even without Taylor Ray this week.
You know, they're really free flowing. So that'll be a really good test. Will they get a reaction this week? I think they will, but I don't think they'll have enough to beat Warrington personally.
Yeah, they won't. Not at all. Not the way the two teams are playing at the moment, in form and everything. It's two complete opposites.
So where do we see? I mean, I know we're only in round 5, if you like, but you know, where do we see them longer term? Do we see them limping into the playoffs in 6th or something like that? Yeah,
at the moment, yeah. But like you said, it's too early to say. It could well be that he gets them in. Got them in on Tuesday. Had a big chat to the team, dragged a couple in one-on-one that he needs to have a word with, Brad Arthur, and go through that. And then this week, they may well come out and it may well be what we were talking about, the back. So it's so hard to know. And that's all on... This is where we know how good of a coach Brad Arthur is.
There also has to be an element of self-policing from these players as well.
Oh, there has to be. Every player has to take responsibility for whatever they do on that pitch.
You know, I've been in plenty of dressing rooms where the manager's been locked out and you'll fight it out between yourselves. And sometimes that's the best way. And I suspect that's probably what's happened here as well. But that all depends on them players. Again, like we've said before, the ones that are leaving, etc. That's the dropping of the egos, and they've got to do that internally themselves, not through Brad Arthur saying it, but they've got to do that as a group between themselves.
Yeah, and the fact is, at the end of the day, the players that, like Harry Newman's no longer a kid. Jake Connor isn't a kid. Jake Connor's done more maturing over the last 2 years, 18 months, than he has done in his previous 10 as a player. And the likes of Harry Newman, he's 25 now, Harry Newman?
Yeah, So he's in his prime, isn't he? I mean, you're right. I mean, Connor,
he's 25.
I mean, Brad Arthur's been the one coach in his career.
26, actually.
Right.
Harry Newman.
So
this is where you really need to knuckle down, though.
Yeah,
like, you can't be doing this bullshit that you're doing on that pitch. You're no longer a Mickey Lewis age who's got that, you know. He's never produced something like Mickey Lewis has, though.
No, that's right.
Everyone talks about his ability and, you know, how much potential he's got. He's got to be showing that potential now.
Yeah. Talking of Lewis, it was funny though to see how the Catalans players were celebrating in front of him in that match when he tried and he pushed them all in the back in the sulk. I did think that was funny.
I did see that.
But yeah, but Connor, just saying about Jake Connor, there's a parallel here for me with. I think Brad Arthur has been the one coach that's managed to reach him and get the best out of him. And I think that's a very similar situation than what Lee Breer's had with Tony Smith. He loved Tony. You tell he was the best coach he's ever played under, etc., etc. And I think Connor's had the same sort of relationship as that. I think with Brad Arthur, but whether or not they can continue that over the next 6 months is no, we'll see. Because after that, it won't be. And I don't particularly think at that point. I don't particularly think that Brad Arthur will be there next season either.
No, there's plenty of jobs going to be available in the NRL this year. There's at least 3 jobs available this year. Because I can't see Todd Payton surviving at the Cowboys. I can't see Seabold surviving at Manly, and there's the PNG job coming up. So there's 3 jobs available.
And not just that, we've just said about this massive departure of players. If
you've got a coach on a 1-year rolling deal,
you have got to be committed for 3 years to rebuild that team. And I don't think that Brad Arthur will be there in 3 years' time by any stretch of the imagination. So therefore, I don't think he'll be there next season because he will have to commit to that to rebuild it.
Yeah, and what's so I just mentioned it then about the 12-month rolling contract, as to say. We mentioned it when last season when it was talks of Wellens getting a further 12-month extension, and you don't know who you like. That uncertainty, for example, constantly, like if you're trying to recruit players, if you're trying to keep players on, and they don't know who their coach is next year, then it's never a good environment for a team and a club. But like with this Brad Arthur situation, I feel like last year everyone thought he was only going to be there for 18 months. Everyone thought that's it, he's going. And he was like, no, I'm going to stay. I'm going to do another 12 months. So they signed him 12 months. They, after, I believe they then managed to kick on and make that top 3 form and really, really kick on their season. And now this year, I feel like the uncertainty is a little bit different because they're not going, oh, he's finished at the end of the year. They're probably going, oh well, is he going to stay? Is he not going to stay? There's more jeopardy this year. Whereas last year, I think everyone just thought, he's not going to be here next year. Don't worry, let's just play our heart out for him. And let's just learn a lot under him. Whereas now it's like that uncertainty is not good. With you add to that the players leaving as well.
Particularly the overseas players, because I think they have an affinity with him within Australia, and I think they understand the situation for him in terms of, well, at some point, like me, I'm going to go home.
Yeah.
So I do think that's an issue as well. But yeah,
it's going to be a funny one for Leeds, and I do think they'll pick it up, but it just who knows. And the other topic for debate this week and the past couple of weeks really has been the Challenge Cup and what sort of format it will even be taking place in, but if it'll even exist in its current form or even exist ever again. There's talks, obviously, Matt Shaw's a big advocate of moving away from Wembley now. I noticed on the podcast, but is there a future for the Challenge Cup as we know it?
would there be? Can I throw a question back at you instead?
Yeah, go on. Of course.
Would there be a role for the Challenge Cup in its current format if the NRL took over? Because they don't have a Challenge Cup.
No, but they like the Challenge Cup.
Right. Okay.
So whenever I talk to people at the pub and they're like, whenever I mention about like the Hull KR winning the 4 trophies, and like, oh yeah, they went, wait, 4? And I went, yeah, we have the Challenge Cup, and every reaction is, oh, you do? And it's like, yeah, that's triggered. And he went, is that the one you play at Wembley? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And that's genuinely what they say. And they went, oh, I used to watch that as a kid.
Exactly that. That's what, and again, that is what a generation ago, if you like, or anybody, that's what gets them into watching rugby league. It's the Wembley showpiece.
And this is people. These people in Australia. This isn't people. Yeah.
It's not Super League regular round. It's the day at Wembley. Now, in terms of fandom, years ago, winning at Wembley was bigger than winning the league. Winning the Challenge Cup was the ultimate deal of winning of a rugby league trophy. In years gone by, people could name you who'd won the Challenge Cup, but probably not who's won the league. And then, because then in those days for rugby league, they had so many competitions. There was the Lancashire Cup, the Yorkshire Cup, the John Player Cup, the Challenge Cup. There was the Premiership playoffs. There was the league. So you were competing on 6 or 7 different fronts. Now, then, for the modern day fan as well as the player, does the aura of playing at Wembley or going to Wembley hold the same value and the same excitement as it did 20 years ago?
As a fan, no. As a player, yes.
I would think so as a player, because it's not like football. Footballers get more than one chance to play at Wembley, don't they?
Yeah.
Even in the playoffs.
No matter what league you're in.
Exactly. In the
you
playoffs.
Could be in League 2 and you've got the chance to go to Wembley.
Exactly. Internationals, whatever it may be. Rugby league, you've got 2 chances at the outside. One is the Challenge Cup final,
and
one
1895.
Yeah. Or I was thinking, that's been taken away now, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. That's
so I was thinking if there was a test match series where there was a game at Wembley. which is few and
Yeah.
far between. But that's the other.
Which, if anything, that should really make fans want to go more, because there is only them chances to go to Wembley.
It's difficult, isn't it? With people don't like travelling down there either now.
No.
The same as towns used to empty. So
Yeah. But
you
like
know,
that story I said before, St Helens used to put buses on no matter who was going. Bradford did, Widnes did, Warrington did, Leeds did, bloody
yeah,
Solihull did, Dewsbury
that's
did.
right. Everybody, the whole there was every
Siddle,
amateur club. There'd be no other games,
Fato
etc.
Heath,
All that sort of
everyone.
stuff. People would decorate the windows. You know, there'd be
We
red and
spoke
white
about this
ribbons in the
though a couple
windows.
of years though. Why is it that when it's Challenge Cup weekend, there are other fixtures on that weekend? Should be
Yeah,
Challenge Cup final, no rugby league fixtures, no matter what, any
of course,
division, nothing. It is the Wembley weekend, and
and that's it.
if your team's not playing, you get a week off.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly
Why
that.
is that's what's caused the
But
issue and the magic of the cup going? Is you've got bloody amateur clubs playing at the same time that the Challenge Cup final is.
but earlier rounds as well. Let's take it now. We're getting up to the quarterfinals now, but there's obviously an apathy from fans towards the earlier rounds as well, because when you look at the crowds, you look at 3,000 here, 9,000 at Wigan, 3,000. Was it Warrington? 3,000, I
Yeah.
think. I don't know. I'm not quite sure you say, but I've said for a long time that the quarterfinals should be like some sort of magic weekend day.
Yeah, like
Where
they
you,
had at
where you,
Lee during COVID, them two
yeah, where
COVID years.
you're playing them all on a, that'd be great, especially if, depending on the future of Magic Weekend. But
The issue
even
I have
so,
with that, is kind of like what we have at Magic Weekend, where half the ground might be empty for a couple of games. That's the only issue I have.
but if you're drawing crowds of 6,000 and 7,000 anyway,
The half empty anyway.
they're half empty anyway.
True.
And I look at the games now in the quarterfinals, and I'm looking at it and thinking, to me, it looks like it's the big four that are going to be in the semis. So when does I'm looking, it's going to be Saints, Wigan, Warrington, Hull KR. Looking at those semi-finals, those
Yeah.
quarterfinals. And I'm looking at that, and I'm thinking, so when does it actually come alive? If you've got a competition that doesn't come alive until the semi-finals, you're in football's like League Cup territory.
John's
You know,
paint trophy or whatever.
exactly that. Yeah, no one's really bothered earlier rounds, but it happens. And IMG wanted to do a two-legged round of 16 final, round of 16 round at one time.
Yeah.
Imagine that when Warrington, Gould have only got a 72-point deficit to make up in the second leg. Have a think about these things.
Away points count doubles.
Honestly, have a think about these things. But it's more. Are we talking? I think there's two separate things here, Johnny, with the Challenge Cup. I think, well, it's three actually. One is how you save the competition overall from round one, if you like. Two is what do you do with the semi-finals? Because we've tried different things with the semi-finals, haven't we? We've tried
Neutral
grounds.
venues.
We've tried double
The
headers.
neutral grounds doesn't matter because it's always at Huddersfield.
Yeah. I remember going to a semi-final years ago, Saints and Wigan at Old Trafford. There was 50,000 there in the semi-final.
Really?
Yeah. I think that was 19... I'm going to say 91 or something like that.
Yeah.
And there was 50,000 there at Old Trafford for a semi-final. Hell. Saints lost in the last minute, and it was forward by a mile, let me tell you. It was. It was. Right? But then you've got the third thing then is the final.
Yeah.
So I think you've three different elements to this. You've the competition as a whole earlier on. You've got the semi-finals, what you do with them, and then you've got the final about how you do it. And I think each one has to be put into you have to compartmentalize each section of it.
Basically, no matter what though, the three things you've said, it can't survive in the format it's in. There's got to be a whole format change.
Yeah, because if you get to the final and then you're only getting 52,000 turning up. Well, you might as well play that somewhere else, because why are you then playing it at Wembley for 52,000?
But why are we now not allowed to utilise the home stadium of our national team and one that's got a statue outside of it for our sport?
I totally agree, and I'm looking at this from a fan's point of view, because you said before that everybody, there's coaches from everywhere, all over the country used to go. There was coach travel,
But
there
you've
was a
got to
day
bring
out
that
and
magic
everything.
back. You've got to make it the weekend of the Challenge
But,
Cup final. You can't have this
yes.
bollocks of amateur clubs playing.
No, but then you've got the other things where people are saying, well, Magic Weekend didn't exist, trips to France didn't exist. So people will spend their money on going to Toulouse to watch their own team, or Catalans to watch their own team, or rather than saying, well, I'm going to have a day out in London as a neutral.
Well, I'm going to say to you that's 1,000 fans that go from that club. So
Okay, yeah, fair point. Yeah,
that's 1,000 fans. Okay, and there's absolutely zero trips to France, zero Magic Weekends for Championship clubs.
yeah. I would throw back.
So why don't we market it towards them and bring that back as the big weekend for Championship clubs?
For everything, yeah.
Why don't we do that?
I would throw that back at you and say, well, if every club takes 1,000, that's 13,000, and 13,000 times 2 to Toulouse and Catalans is 26,000.
But you would also find that fans that go to Toulouse will go to Catalan.
Yeah. So.
And you'll find that as well. So really, it's probably about the same thousands anyway.
Well, then you've got Magic Weekend, which is now, I read, over 60,000 tickets have been sold already.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant.
But it's also a great location. You can get the train there. People don't have to stay the full weekend. They can get the train there. Brantley Moor Docks, it's right near Blackstock Market, the big marketplace where Hot Water Comedy Club is, where there's about 1 million food restaurants. There's loads of bars along the way to it. A lot better location than Anfield, by the way.
Absolutely.
It might be, a 25-minute trek from Lime Street, if not a bit more. But, you've got pubs on the way. You've got full day in and around Liverpool. You can have a night out in Liverpool, get the last train home. You can stay in your own house. You can save money on all that stuff.
I think what I'm saying, though, is, and you're right with the Magic Weekend stuff.
It's an expense, I know.
It's like, as a fan, what is your priority? Is it going to Wembley, particularly if your team's not there, or is it going to Magic? Is it going to Magic Weekend? So I think that's
as a Super League fan, absolutely. But as a fan of a Championship club, which now there's 20 teams in the Championship. Is there? No, there's less, isn't there? 18 teams now in the Reformed Championship.
As a fan of rugby league in general, yeah.
As a fan of rugby league, you've got 18 teams. If they take 100 each, it's 1,800 more. But then, if you go for 1,000, say they can take 1,000 each. Obviously, I know they're stupid numbers. That's 18,000. You get more at Wembley. But you've got players for that Wembley weekend that are playing for amateur sides at the same time that's even being kicked off at. At the same time it's being kicked off at, that's viewing figures that you're missing out on.
Yeah. All right, well, let me ask you this then. In terms of the final, and I understand, and I fully agree with you, you've got a statue outside the ground, it's tradition, etc., all that. If
TV, it's got to move.
Right. If you had, forget Old Trafford, because Old Trafford then is for
the grand final only.
The grand final at the minute. What's the next biggest capacity then in the north? Would it be City after when they've redeveloped?
At the minute it's probably Anfield, but it will be City.
Could be City.
After the redevelopment.
So let's call it after the redevelopment. Let's call that. Would you then fill up City's ground in the Challenge Cup final with the approach that said?
It'd hold 62, isn't it? After it's either 62 or 58, which would sell out, which would look better on TV.
Right, and would then people go to it like you've just said, like your amateur clubs, like your championship, because it's not a 200-mile trip.
Train.
Exactly. And I know that goes against all the expansion stuff about we then back in the M62 corridor, etc. But is that the way that life is now? And people say, well, actually, if I go to Wembley to watch this game, it's going to cost me at least a couple of £100.
Mm-hmm.
But I can go to Manchester for half that.
Yeah.
And that might be where we are as a society. That might be where we are in life.
Yeah, it's a real tough one, and it's a tough one for the RFL to decide. It's a tough one for the NRL to decide if and when this partnership / takeover does come in. And it's got a lot of hard questions to answer. I personally, years ago, honestly, 4 or 5 years ago, I was full on move away from Wembley because of TV and how much it looked crap with a half-empty Wembley. And you need to see a full stadium for people, for casual listeners and viewers to flick on their TV. If they see a half-full Wembley, they're going to be like, oh, well, this sport's obviously not worth watching, and flick over. Whereas if you have a full Etihad or a full Anfield or a full Bramley-Moore Docks, would that not hit the Hill Dickinson at 55,000?
Could be, yeah, could be. I've got two
Would that
questions.
not be the answer? Go on.
I've got two questions to finish with you to look at that. Then, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, by moving away from Wembley and having a full, I'm gonna keep going with the Etihad. So having a full Etihad.
Yeah.
Strategically, for the game of rugby league, does that do any damage to not having the Challenge Cup final at Wembley?
Short term, no. Long term, potentially.
Okay. As a fan, if Saints won the Challenge Cup at the Etihad, would it mean any less to you than winning at Wembley?
100% would.
Okay.
I'll throw them back to you then. Would you as a fan winning that at the Etihad rather than Wembley, would it lose any magic?
No. For me, no.
Really?
Yeah.
Even if you're there in person?
If I was there in person and I saw us go up the steps and parade the trophy, I'm not quite sure I'd care where it was.
Really? Not the history, the nostalgia doesn't play any of it? You're not a romanticist? You're not a romantic guy, Andy?
I am, but it wouldn't... When I looked back on that 3 or 4 years later, it probably wouldn't bother me that we'd won it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I look at COVID, the biggest regret is not being able to be there, not winning at Hull, for example.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. You look at the records now and it still says it, doesn't it?
Yeah, true. And also
the biggest regret is not being able to be there, wasn't it? Same for Salford fans when they made and that was probably different for them when they couldn't go to Wembley. Yeah, but bad example. But
yeah,
done me on argument.
They couldn't rock up to the
But the other thing then is strategically, would it hurt that one game a year at Wembley? Would it hurt strategically? Not sure. I think you might be right. Short term, no. Long term,
gains a lot. Long term, you lose a lot because if, for example, London Broncos does take off in this tenure with Veschel and Lockyer, and they're really building momentum in London, and you've not got a major piece of silverware going to London, and the only time they get a game is when it's the Ashes every 8 years, sorry, depending on which continent it's in. That's when it's like, well, that's the only game they've got to look forward to watch rugby league outside of, the London Broncos, then you're losing a lot of momentum there as well. So it all depends, mate. And it's been really good to kind of discuss these topics. And, listeners, let us know what you think as well in the comments or tweet us. Andy runs the Only in Rugby League account, so make sure to let him know your opinions on the Challenge Cup. I think that has been a podcast, Andy.
A good one, I think, today. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, really good. Really good. Scott, loved your story about Toulouse. That's absolutely made my day, and I'm so glad I told you to save it till we recorded.
Yeah.
because That was a beautiful, beautiful story. And Bobby, do better on accommodation next time.
Flights, yeah.
But thanks for joining us, Andy. And we'll hopefully have an
Pleasure.
episode out next week, depending on recording schedules. It is hard because time zones are now changing again. You guys go forward this week?
We do, yeah. Forward on Saturday night, Sunday morning, yeah. So we're an hour in front.
That'll be fun. And we go back next week, so the week after. So we'll be back to 9 hours difference and recordings will be all over the place. But this has been the Rugby League, the Super League Pom-Cast. I've been Johnny. He's been Andy. Peace.
Bye.
And peace and